Oh dear God, we're live. All right, it's time for some prime live clickbait, if you will. So, we're obviously behind the scenes of an upcoming little mini video thing that I am working on. So, figured while I'm passing the time installing Windows on some PCs, including my main over there, which will be explained later. Yeah, we're going to be installing Windows on the HP T630 thin client. Finally, it only took like I don't know how much time to, obviously get this ball rolling here, but we're gonna get into it here. I'm actually really pumped for this. So before we actually get into this, I'm gonna wait for some people to show up because I want to have as many people as I possibly can to get into this with me and to be able to hear what I have to say about this. Obviously, the whole testing and everything is going to be in the full video once it comes out, which I'm hoping to work on as soon as I get done with this live stream. I'm going to put all the footage on my computer and I'm going to get to editing it up hopefully as soon as I can. And, obviously then I'm going to get it pumped up to YouTube and figure everything out. So that'll be fantastic. Anyways, I saw your comment there, Tom. How's it going? Just gonna wait for a little minute here and see if some people show up, and then we're gonna get into the actual installation portion, shall we? So, yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, obviously for any random nerd, this is gonna be roll their eyes clickbait content. You're absolutely right. But you know what? This is a thin client. You know what? I've had this thing for months, and I haven't been able to really do much with it. So this is important. Having Windows is a big deal. And also, just, you'll see what I mean here in just a moment when I talk about it. So I'm going to grab me a beverage of choice. And I'm going to move this out of the way here. Get us a quality Dr. Pepper, shall we? Well, I see 3 people so far, which is good. So, what do you think? Should I wait longer or should I get into it? Now, who am I kidding? Well, let's just get into this here. If I delay this any longer, I'm sure the people who are actually going to be watching this after the live stream, which there's probably going to be a few people that are going to get sick of waiting. So let's get into this. So as you can see here, we have the SanDisk SSD here, which has a UEFI install of Ubuntu on it, which I'm not keeping that, obviously. So when I'm inside of the Windows setup, I'm going to erase both of these M.2 SSDs. So let's go ahead and hit UEFI IPv4. There we go. And start Windows 10 2004 or 2004, however you prefer to say it. Setup. All right. So it only took this long to install Windows 10 on an HP T630 thin client. Well, why is that? Here's why. The SSD that was inside my thin client, for those who don't know, was 16 gigs. So obviously that's enough for Windows 7 embedded to work and boot up and everything. But it was never enough to where I could actually do something. You could install Windows 10 on it, and that would be fine. But you'd be left with so little disk space that, especially after you installed Windows updates, you just could not install the display driver. Every time you'd go to install the display driver, yeah, you're real funny, Charles. Every time you go to install the display driver, it would run out of disk space right away. After Windows updates, you would just run out of disk space. You could not install the display driver. Even the lightweight sort of the web installer for Radeon Adrenalin 2020 edition, which this thin client is amazingly compatible with, it just didn't work. So it left me in a bit of a rut because I really couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I knew I was going to run out of disk space with 16 gigs in Windows. I just knew that was going to be a thing. But anyways, so here we go. Windows deployment services. So let's go ahead and authenticate with my server. All right, and we're going to select Windows 10 Pro 2004. And obviously, as you can see, we got 2 drives because I left the 16 gig one in there. We're going to delete all of these partitions. So we're going to go in and delete all of these. This might take a minute. Okay, so obviously we're going to install to drive 0. As you can see, it is a 240 gig SSD that we are working with here. And we're only going to format this one. I'm not going to format the other one until I get into Windows. I'll make the unallocated space just a basic NTFS volume. And just like that, we are on our way. Let's actually open up Task Manager here. Let's see what this network card is running at. I think it's gigabit. I could be wrong though, but I swear it is gigabit on this little thin client. Yep, sure enough. This has a 1 gigabit NIC in it. So assuming that the CPU in this won't bottleneck too badly by doing this, this should be a pretty quick pull from the server once the system gets going here. Of course, it is limited to 4 gigs of RAM, which there's only 3.5 accessible to the system because 512 megabytes of it are shared for video memory. Oh yeah, it's definitely pulling more than 100 megabits. That is definitely more than 100 megabits because 100 megabit would have been stuck at like 10-something%. Okay, so it is definitely pulling its weight. That's not bad. Anyways, so let me get into this here. So I bought a PCI Express NVMe SSD today, a 500 gig Western Digital black SSD. And the intention was obviously going to put it in my main computer, which, if I turn my face around here, obviously that machine has a new fresh install of Windows 10 on it, which is my main Ryzen 7 2700X PC. And obviously the SSD from that was going to go into the thin client, which obviously happened. But there's a little more to it than that. See, I initially tested the Western Digital SSD inside the thin client here because this has 2 M.2 slots, one of which is designed for a short SSD like the original flash disk that this came with in slot 0 instead of slot 1. And it's designed for those because of their shorter size, lower cost, and obviously smaller capacity. Since these are only really meant to work with an embedded version of Windows with very little software on the actual drive itself, it's just meant to connect to a network server and your Windows and everything is on the network. Anyways, so I was trying that Western Digital SSD in this because I wanted to make sure the drive would work before I put it into my main computer. Well, I put it in and it didn't show up in the BIOS anywhere. I even checked to make sure NVMe was enabled, and sure enough, it was. The only caveat being that the NVMe mode is on slot 1. And slot 1, as I just mentioned, in this case of the thin client on this HP T630, slot 1 is only meant for the smaller, like the very, very short and stubby M.2 SSDs. So that wasn't going to work. So it basically meant that any PCI Express SSD would have to not only be of a very, very short form factor, but obviously that other drive I had just flat out would not work. So that meant that I had to test this PCI Express SSD inside my main system, which obviously, if I turn the camera around again, it would be in that system over there. And obviously, as you can see, it works just fine because I did a fresh install of Windows on it. And so it works just fine. So then that meant, okay, so how did the 240 gig SSD from your main system work in this thing? Wouldn't that be PCI Express as well? Well, that's what I initially thought too, but it actually has the same cutouts like it would for an M.2 SATA SSD, not for an M.2 PCI Express SSD. So what that means is that this motherboard, if you want to actually install a full-size M.2 SSD, it has to be the SATA variety because it will not work with the PCI Express version. Not the end of the world, especially considering that for number one reason, this is a thin client. Number two, it's from 2017. And I don't believe PCI Express SSDs for the M.2 form factor were around in 2017. Either that, or if they were, this is not compatible with them. And I can't say I'm surprised because of the fact that obviously this is a thin client. It's not really meant to do that sort of stuff. So all in all, don't color me too surprised. It's just an interesting discovery that I found. In the end, my original plan works. So this actually has a bigger M.2 SSD in it, and so I can actually finally do something with this thin client without running out of disk space. So, woo. I know, a lot of rambling, but I'm excited. Can't you tell? I'm really excited. So, we're going to get Windows 10 Pro installed on this thing. I can't imagine we're going to do too much in this live stream, but I don't know. Pretty sure they were running 2017 because I got an NVMe drive in early 2017. So it must have been that this thin client just is not compatible with an NVMe drive, at least in the slot that accepts a full-size SSD. So that makes sense, I guess. I don't know if it's just a BIOS limitation or if it's just a hardware limitation because, again, to be fair, this is not a Ryzen SoC. This is a one from the last generation of Bulldozer SoCs that use DDR4 memory, and they're like they're based on the 7th gen architecture of Bulldozer, whatever that's supposed to mean. So, woo. So, yeah. I'm going to catch up with the chat here, so why not? Am I installing Windows through PXE? Yes, because I actually upgraded my network from 100 megabit to gigabit. I got my new router up there. Well, newer. It's not new, but it's a newer router, so it's got gigabit ports, Wi-Fi AC, and it's got generally better service, like range. It's much better. Doesn't it have a USB port internally? Yes, it does have an internal USB 3.0 port, and you can use it for booting. I've done it before, but obviously I don't have the kind of SSD with the same capacity to boot, which means that obviously the original thought that I was thinking of putting a USB drive in that just to use did not work because it was super slow, at least the drive I had, so that wouldn't have worked. Getting 16 gig flash drive and put golf on it. No, I only have one 16 gig USB 3 flash drive and it was awfully slow. So anyways, I'm gonna get caught up here with the chat some more. Are you taking school again or are you done with school? I am still in college. I graduate this December. Well, really, I'm out of college technically on November 18th. That's my last day, and at that point, I'm supposed to have some kind of an externship or like a job. That's the whole idea. And then I graduate in December. So that's supposed to be the idea. So it's a lot of cramming of schoolwork right now, which is why you haven't seen a whole lot of videos. Maybe like once a week, maybe twice a week, that sort of stuff. Well, internships do count too, actually, now that you bring that up. Yeah, internships count, externship, job, whatever. As long as you have something external from the school by November 18th, that's the idea. And then you graduate in early to mid-December, and then that's when you're out of the program and you're out in the real world. So I'm almost there. Obviously, the end of the quarter for us comes in late September, and it's just been flying. Like, days fly so quickly, it's almost insane. Like, it's almost like it's almost 5:30 today, and I haven't been up for that much time. It hasn't felt like it anyway. And oh my god, it's been nuts. So much stuff to do, so busy. It's just, yeah, that's why I've been focusing more on my schoolwork than I have been on YouTube. So hopefully you all understand that, for those who are actually caring about that. Yeah, I don't think Bulldozer support this NVMe. Yeah, NVMe didn't really exist on AMD until Ryzen in 2017. So that does not surprise me that this very late Bulldozer SoC does not have NVMe support. Which is weird because in the BIOS, it shows an NVMe setting that you can turn on, but it was only for slot 1, which in this thin client's case is meant for these really itty-bitty SSDs that plug into the M.2 slot. So maybe it does support NVMe, but it's only on that one slot. And obviously, I don't have an SSD small enough to fit. So I couldn't tell you. At least the bigger slot's only meant for SATA M.2 SSDs. So it's not the end of the world. But, you know, it kind of is what it is. So either way. Vlog your finals? No. I'm not in finals yet. I don't have any finals per se that I can think of. The only one that I could believe was we had a final for our human relations class, and let me tell you how big of a joke that was. The instructor messed up on his scheduling. Email communication was not very pleasant, or it was sparse. Meetings were basically, hey, how was your weekend? And obviously, here's a screen share that's of a document that we have our work for the week. Oh my God, it was a joke. One day or 1 week, there was one assignment listed on the conference call, and then on the school system, it said another thing, and then on the email, it said, hey, if you've already started with this, then you can do that, but if not, do this other thing. So it's like, why was there 2 separate assignments in one assignment slot in the same chapter? Why would there be 2 separate assignments for the same damn thing? That just makes no sense. So it was all confusing. Like, it was back and forth this nonsense with this instructor. And not only that, but his grading was not very good. It's either all or nothing, and there's obviously no late work, but the due times for those assignments were just a joke. They made assignments due at noon, and for a lot of people in our class, that just can't do. So it was really frustrating, and I'm not saying that he's a bad guy, because obviously he has his own job. He's some kind of specialist, and obviously he was playing a sit-in job role or role for our class because of our degree requirement. So I guess that makes sense. But still, as a teacher, not very positive. I'm not trying to make him sound like he's an overall bad person, because he's a really nice guy. He absolutely is. But I don't think teaching was a strong suit, honestly. I'd rather have the instructor we've got now for our telephone systems, who's actually my supervisor for work. He's a really chill guy, great teacher, knows a lot about what he's doing. He's actually helped me out a bunch when it comes to my internship I'm at right now. So I've got a lot of good things to say about him. So anyways, that's enough about that. Let me catch back up here on the chat. I'm doing remote this year because of COVID. Yeah, we're kind of sort of doing the same thing too, although I don't really necessarily use my iMac for that because it's too slow for that. I mean, it works, but, it's not ideal. So I use my other systems for that. And then, yeah. The GTA final, God. I'm selling computers because of COVID. Nice. This Windows install is painfully slow. Well, here's the thing. I mentioned this earlier. You might have joined after I said this. This only has 4 gigabytes of single channel 2400 megahertz DDR4. In fact, I think it even runs only at 1866 in this case. So that's the thing. And it uses 512 megabytes of that RAM for shared video memory. So that doesn't help. And then we're dealing with a CPU that's passively cooled. So the TDP is low, which means not a lot of performance. In fact, actually, the processor has about the same benchmark as a Q6600 Core 2 quad. So if that makes you feel any better, yeah, there you go. But for a thin client, it was pretty good, at least when it was new in 2017, because obviously they didn't have Ryzen SoCs until 2018, I think. Don't quote me on that. And it'll obviously get faster once I install the display driver. Right now, obviously, it doesn't have one. But it will take the same Radeon Adrenalin 2020 drivers. I thought it was mid to late 2019. I cannot remember. I couldn't tell you for that. I'm just making assumptions at the moment. I could look that stuff up, but I'm live streaming, and I don't feel like revealing personal crap on my iMac at the moment when I'm trying to look stuff up. So I'll just make my assumption. I'll leave someone else to figure that out. Get more RAM, you meanie head. I almost bought some more RAM when I was at the Best Buy today getting the SSDs, but then it would be a different make. So it would be the same stick of RAM that I bought for my Acer Aspire E15 before I sold that. It was a PNY 2400 megahertz DDR4 stick, but it would have been mismatched. So I don't know if this would support dual channel in that regard. I got lucky with my Acer and it did run in dual channel. I don't know if it'd be the case with this system. But it would give it 12 gigabytes of RAM, which would just be ludicrous. I don't really think I need that much RAM, though. But I don't know. If I sell some more stuff, I will think about it. Sucks to wear a face mask when you're out. Oh, tell me about it. If it makes you all feel any better, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so I live in Washington State, and obviously that means right now we're dealing with a bunch of that lovely, tasty fire smoke, which is not safe to breathe in. So yeah, ask me how I feel about that. Air quality index is well into the 180 range, which means it's dangerous to go outside and breathe it. So I'm stuck indoors, if you will. So I gotta have something to do with my time. How do you feel about it? Not good. It's not healthy. Now, hopefully we get to the desktop here any moment. Then get McDonald's. I need to go grocery shopping, so I can stop going to these fast food places and stop spending all my money. Hey, there we go. Perfect. All right. Let's go into Task Manager here. And here is your processor of choice, the AMD Embedded G-Series GX420 Gi with Radeon R7E embedded graphics. That's what this thin client uses. And yeah, as you can see, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 3.5 gigs, because of course 512 megabytes of it is reserved for the graphics. And interestingly, it's running at 1866, so I don't know if that's a limitation of the SoC or if that's just the BIOS. I couldn't tell you. I'm planning on upgrading the BIOS. I just haven't done that yet. All right, so let's go ahead and turn off the Cortana button, turn the search thing off there. I'm gonna go into disk management real quick. So disk mgmt.msc. We're gonna format that little 16 gig SSD because I'm gonna make that a page file, because it kind of needs a page file if you've only got 4 gigabytes of RAM. So we're going to make a new simple volume and make it the D drive. We'll just call it secondary. That'll work. And then there we go. That should take care of that. And there we go. There's our secondary drive. And there's the drive letter. So now what we need to do is go under our start menu, right click on it, hit system. Honestly, once this thing gets up and going, it really doesn't feel all that slow. I mean, obviously it's not a fast computer, but I mean, a thin client shouldn't be a fast computer in this regard. I mean, one that's a few years old at this point, only has 4 gigs of RAM, and you're running the operating system natively on the thin client hardware. Obviously a Ryzen embedded SoC would be much faster than this, but, you know, it's whatever. I've yet to activate Windows, but I'm going to take care of that here in a minute after I'm done dealing with the live stream. Or maybe I'll keep live streaming and I'll just activate Windows afterwards, because you don't really need to activate Windows to obviously use it. Okay, so we're going to go under here, go to change. Do not automatically manage. We want to go to the secondary drive, make it system managed, set, okay, 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 restart later. And there we go. In fact, actually, I might do that right now, because if I can get more page file memory right now, then that'll mean that hopefully it won't be nearly as cancerously slow like it is right now, especially no display driver. So now we should be able to run Windows Update, get the display driver installed, and not run out of disk space, which would be fantastic. You should vlog at the store. I mean, I can. It's not very exciting, but I could. Probably like 5 people would watch the video, though. Activate Windows is cancerous. Yeah, it kind of is. Disable Windows Update? No. I'm not one of those plebeians that has to disable Windows Update because, oh my fucking god, I can't stand Windows running its updates at normal intervals for security updates because it's in the license agreement and Microsoft's taking away our freedom and yada 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 and blah 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 blah. Well, here's my take on it. Obviously, Windows is evolving. Modern operating systems have to have security updates in order for people to stay safe. If you're going to be one of those people that turns off Windows Update, well, I mean, that's your choice, but don't come crying to me when you have a security problem because you didn't install a security update. And not only that, obviously, I understand the feature updates are a bit of a problem, but every operating system has its updates. Mac OS, Linux, Windows, iOS, Android, although not nearly as often, so on and so forth. So, yeah, there's a lot of security risks out there. So just install your updates, people. Stop bitching about it. Install them. Just get them over with. You know, stop being impatient. Life's too short to deal with issues like that where you have identity theft and other issues. Just install your damn updates, people. Anyways, rant over. 2004 Windows is slow for me. Well, the only reason it's slow is because, you know, thin client. All right. So let's go ahead and... Actually, first things first, I'll wait for Windows updates later because in this case, it'd take like a good 10 minutes to do everything. And this isn't exactly a brilliantly fast computer. I am running the air conditioner so that I can try to keep some airflow. This, like I said, is passively cooled. It is rather toasty. So that way this thing doesn't thermal throttle too bad. You don't necessarily need to disable updates, more so disable the automatic downloading. Well, here's a trick for that. I know exactly how you stop the automatic downloading. You go into your Windows settings, you go under Network and Internet. Now here, give me a minute to accept this UAC prompt. You go under whatever network you use. You go under Change Adapter Options, or no, not even that, my bad. In this case, it would actually be under Ethernet. You go under here, and there would normally be an option, when you click on this, to set this as a metered connection. When you set this as a metered connection, Windows will stop automatically downloading Windows updates in the background of any kind. And you don't even have to hack the operating system. Just turn this on, and boom. Don't even have to worry about it anymore. So for those people who go in and like do the whole group policy thing, well, hey, that's one way to do it, but good luck if you break your registry. You have to reinstall Windows from scratch or recover the registry, and that's never fun. Thoughts on Windows 10 LTSC 2019? Well, I mean, I technically run a version of it. It's called Windows Server 2019 Essentials. I run it on my server. It's stable enough, and it works pretty well. So I have no complaints about that. I just wouldn't run it on my daily system because I don't have the enterprise licensing, and nor do I care about that sort of stuff. I'm not one of those huge sticklers that's all about these feature updates all the time either, but, you know, I'm not going to go out of my way to use a completely different licensed version of Windows when it's easier to go for Pro than to go for Enterprise LTSC and that sort of stuff, if you know what I mean. All right, got Chromium Edge installed here. Let me see if I can set you guys down here so that way I don't have to hold the camera while I'm doing my live stream here. It's not going to look good on the screen, I know, but I'm going to try to do the best that I can here. All right, get started. Continue without signing in because I'm not going to do that, at least not on this computer. And we need to go to support.amd.com. And we're just going to get the automatic install. Actually, is that ready to restart?
Yeah.
Okay, you can just say restart on
I was going to say, I'm going to propose a trade.
Oh.
16 gigs of RAM for the 8 that I'm letting you borrow, so I can throw the 5060 up.
Oh, you should probably shut that PC down then, yeah.
Yeah.
You should probably do that.
Now I'm just going to pop it out while it's on.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, so now we can close out of that. We can go under here. And run this as an administrator. I can't see the chat right now, so if you guys are posting messages, I'm sorry I can't read them at the moment, so...
That's what the iMac's for.
Yeah, well, I'm not using that at the moment.
Just give me carbs. But don't give me actual carbs.
Don't give me extra carbs, sounds like pros. Probably turn my speakers on, make sure that the sound output's working.
Yeah.
I believe that it is, but just to be sure. it might not be properly set because it doesn't have a driver installed yet, so I'll have to come back to that.
So much for update and shut down.
Yeah, it doesn't update, it restarts, then it boots back up, then shuts down. It's weird. That's just how Windows does it. And now we wait for the Radeon software thing to pop up here and do its thing.
So what do you think would be a decent price for it with 16 gigs and a 120 SSD? Because that's all I got extra, because it only takes 2.5.
That's a good question.
Because it's really not the biggest SSD.
Radeon software installed detected AMD graphics hardware. It's just not supported. Oh, that's right. This will not work with the traditional Radeon software. You have to use the special version that is on AMD's website. I always forget about this. And what you have to do.
Devices.
Yeah. So you have to go under embedded G series. You have to find the 3rd generation G series SoC I family.
Sock.
And then Windows 10. Get out of here. I don't care. And whatever the latest version is, which in this case is apparently from March 13th, 2020. And as you can see, there's all of these other graphics. Actually, mine's R7E, so it should theoretically just work. I might have the wrong SoC pointed out here. I broke the website. There we go. All right. Let's see. It's one of these. I don't know. If anything, I'll just let Windows Update take care of it. Yeah, maybe these use all the same different drivers, so I'll let Windows Update take care of it, honestly. And then go from there.
Something with a flashlight.
Flashlight. Yeah, go get your phone. Oh, there it goes, installing drivers. That was quick. Yay, not running out of disk space. Woo. Yep, there we go. AMD Radeon R7E graphics. Just like that. Although, it's installed a driver from August 2019, so that's always fun. I think we can go back in here now. Yeah, it's much more responsive now. Much more responsive. Should just be able to go back in here, run this installer, and maybe, just maybe, might pick something up, but I doubt it. If it didn't work the first time, it's not going to work the next time. Generally, that's how these installers work, but I don't know, maybe I'll get lucky. I can hear the little internal speaker working, though. Yeah, as I figured, nothing. But that's to be expected. So let's go ahead and delete this folder. And I'll unpin this mail thing from the taskbar. Oh, it's probably not going to directly show it here. Probably because of the fact that I need to specify the APU, which is probably not going to work. Radeon R7E. Yeah, no, it doesn't really work. Okay, so we'll just have to get that same download that these all use for what they're worth. And just get the graphics driver, which is 803 megabytes, by the way. That's a big flipping graphics driver installer. And then we'll also get the chipset driver in case that is necessary, which I don't know, maybe it will be. And while that stuff's doing its thing, I'm going to just check my phone, check the chat. Let's see. Running a Dell Optiplex with a Core i5 4570S, 32 gigs of RAM, and an AMD R5 240. Hey, that's what my that's what this 3020 over here uses. It's down there in the PCI Express X16 slot, in the wrong PCI Express X16 slot configuration because Dell. I use WinArrow Tweaker to disable Windows updates. Well, y'all are weird. Just install your updates, and then you don't have to worry about disabling updates. It's just ridiculous. I hate the new Edge trying to copy Chrome. Actually, it's better than Chrome, let's be fair, because RAM usage is a heck of a lot lower, and it obviously performs way better because, in this case, this is actually running really snappy. And I found that Edge is better at GPU acceleration than Chrome. I'm just saying that right out front. That's from my experience. I don't know about this Chrome thing that you all like to use so much, but yeah, anyways.
It's only a downside.
Install updates when you go to bed. Yeah, literally, no excuse. Or maybe there is because y'all are weird.
So you're sitting at your fan dancy windows, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's only 2133.
I have to go into the BIOS and change the XMP profile. I bet you that's why. So not a big deal, but this over here, it technically has a stick at 2400 megahertz RAM and it runs at 1866.
Fair.
So
I'm not sure what those sticks are again. They might actually be 2133, but I think they're probably 2400.
I'll have to check. You can check with like CPUZ and they'll tell you.
I was just trying to. At least now you've got 32. But,
Yeah.
You know, toss up for speed, so.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Broken. I hate this stupid thing. Whenever you update your graphics driver, it breaks the start menu. Every time, I swear, I hate when Windows does this. Why do they have to do this? So you have to go in here, into the task manager. You gotta go find the start, end the start menu, and then guess what? Give it a couple of seconds. Hey, there's your start menu. I mean, I remember when I used to update my display drivers in Windows 10, and it would break the start menu, but because the start menu at that time was part of the Windows Explorer, you couldn't do anything but restart the entire Windows Explorer. Whereas now, it's still the same issue, which is highly irritating, but you can just restart the start menu process. So, yeah, woo. Alright. Well, I'm just going to let this check for updates, since that's almost done. And that'll basically wrap up this live stream. I wasn't really intending on it being too crazy long. Just long enough to where I could show you all that I have a new video on the way, and this is what it's going to be based upon. And woo, I got Windows on the thin client finally. So, yeah. Oh, interesting. HP firmware. I wonder what that's supposed to be about. Anyways, Jordan needed to make a new Discord server and call it EA's Discord server and throw in a crap ton of Patreon paywalls. No. Also, no, I'm not going to replace the ST and start with F for fart, you idiot. No, not really an idiot, but woo! You and your start farting. Alright, well, that's done, so let's go ahead and close out of Edge so it'll stop using RAM. Woo! And that's going to basically wrap up this stream, so... Yep, we'll see what we can do with this thing in the future. I'm not expecting anything crazy, but we'll see what happens. So thank you all for coming to watch this little mini stream. I'm going to get back to my life and getting my... getting that thing going, because I got to get all my software reinstalled, so then afterwards, yeah, more videos to come in the future, I guess. So oh man, Charles sent me $1. Thank you for the super chat. And angry, you call idiot, unsubscribe or unscribe. Jeez. Alrighty. Yep, well, appreciate y'all coming to watch. I know this is a bit of a thing on the whim, but yeah, that'll mean I'm I could finally do my video where I can game on the thin client. Woo! So, all right, guys. We'll catch y'all in the next one.